The stand to welcome back to the safe house. If you are just joining us, here is the sitrep. I am a retired special operations officer. I spent 20 years in the community doing the kind of work that doesn't make the evening news. My face is redacted and my name is cleared off the books because the contracts I signed with the Department of Defense are lifelong. I walked away with my life mostly, but I left a lot of cartilage and peace of mind downrange. The VA disability check covers the rent, but it doesn't cover the cost of being human. I'm not here to beg. I was raised to work for my keep. So I built this channel to trade my experience for your support. I give you the unfiltered truth about the profession of arms, the grit, the humor, and the horror, and you hit that subscribe button. That's the deal. It keeps me independent, and it keeps this intel flowing. If you're good with that, grab a coffee. Today, we aren't talking about gear specs or tactical diagrams. Today, I'm going to tell you a story. Actually, I'm going to tell you a few stories. People ask me all the time, what is it really like to become a Green Beret? They expect me to talk about shooting guns or jumping out of planes. And sure, we do that, but the journey to wearing the long tab isn't an action movie. It's a dark comedy, it's a psychological thriller, and mostly it's a tragedy about feet. Let's go back to the beginning. Camp McCall, North Carolina, Special Forces Assessment and Selection, SFAS. You arrive thinking you're hot stuff. You were the best guy in your infantry platoon, you can run a 5-minute mile, you can bench press a Buick, and then you meet the Sandman. Selection is designed to strip away your ego. The first phase is physical, but the real enemy is the unknown. They never tell you how far you are running, they never tell you how heavy the ruck is. I remember one night during Land Nav, the STAR course. It was raining, not a polite rain, a cold, hateful, horizontal rain that finds its way into your soul. I was carrying about 70 pounds. I had been walking for 6 hours, searching for a point in the middle of a swamp. I found another candidate sitting on a log. He was a beast of a human being, looked like Captain America. He was staring at a tree. I stopped for a second, which you aren't supposed to do, and asked him if he was okay. He looked at me with dead eyes and said, "I'm waiting for the bus. My mom said she'd pick me up after practice." That is what selection does. It breaks the brain. This guy physically could have carried me and my ruck for 10 miles, but mentally, he had regressed to childhood. He quit 10 minutes later. He rang the bell because he couldn't handle the silence of the woods. That's the first lesson of Special Forces. Your muscles don't matter if your mind is soft. But the real stories, the ones we laugh about in the team room years later, come from Team Week. The Team Week is where they put you in a squad of guys you hate, give you a contraption that weighs 1,000 pounds, and tell you to move it 12 miles through deep sand. We had the apparatus. It was this unholy jury-rigged Jeep made of telephone poles and rusted wheels. We were 3 days into no sleep, maybe an hour a night. The hallucinations were kicking in hard. We call them sleep monsters. I remember looking at the guy next to me, a guy named Miller. Miller was a tough kid from Texas. We were pushing this Jeep up a hill. Miller suddenly let go of the Jeep, walked over to a pine tree, and started punching in numbers on the bark like it was a vending machine. I yelled at him, "Miller, get back on the Jeep." He turned around, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Do you want a Snickers? The machine is broken, but I can reach up and grab one." I didn't laugh. In that moment, it made perfect sense. I actually thought about asking him for a Coke. We were so delirious that reality had melted. But here is the kicker. Miller came back. He didn't quit. He shook his head, realized he was hallucinating, and put his shoulder back on the wheel. That is what the instructors are looking for. They don't care if you see vending machines in the forest. They care if you keep pushing the Jeep while you see them. They want to know if you can function while technically insane. If you survive selection, you get selected. You haven't won anything, you just earn the right to go to the Q course, the qualification course. This is where the Army tries to turn a grunt into a scholar. It can take up to 2 years. You learn a language, you learn a specialty. I was an 18 Bravo, a weapons sergeant. My job was to know how to fire, strip, and repair every weapons system on the planet. The training days on the range were glorious. We fired everything. Soviet PKMs, German MG-42s, Old World War II grease guns. We had to be able to pick up a rusted piece of junk found in a cave in Afghanistan and make it kill within 5 minutes. But the 18 Deltas, the medics, they had the wildest stories, the GOAT lab. I won't get into the graphic details because I don't want this video flagged, but let's just say the Army believes in realistic training. The medics have to keep a patient alive for days. They don't sleep. They are covered in blood. They are treating gunshot wounds, amputations, sucking chest wounds. I remember one medic, let's call him Doc. Doc was a small guy, quiet. During the trauma lanes, he had a simulated casualty who was screaming, an actor playing a local national. The actor was being difficult, thrashing around, screaming in a foreign language, trying to fight Doc. Most people would panic. Doc just calmly sat on the guy's chest, looked him in the eye, and whispered, "If you don't stop moving, I can't save you. And if I can't save you, I have to carry you. And I don't want to carry you." The actor stopped moving. That's the Green Beret way. It's not always about compassion, sometimes it's about pragmatism. The culmination of all this training is Robin Sage. Robin Sage is legendary. It is the final exam. The Army rents out 15 counties in North Carolina. They create a fake country called Pineland. It has a fake government, fake money, and a fake resistance movement. Your team drops into the woods at night. Your mission is to link up with the G chief, the guerrilla chief, and help him overthrow the government. The problem is, the G chief is usually played by a retired Green Beret who fought in Vietnam or El Salvador. He is old, he is grumpy, and he hates lieutenants. Our G chief was a guy named Sarge. He was sitting by a campfire when we walked in. We were exhausted. We had rucked 20 miles. We expected him to be happy to see us. Instead, he looked at our team leader and said, "Who are you? Why are you in my woods? I didn't ask for Americans. I asked for guns." Our captain, a young guy fresh out of West Point, tried to give him a formal briefing. "Sir, we are Operational Detachment Alpha." Sarge spit on the ground. "I don't care about your numbers. Did you bring me whiskey?" We hadn't brought whiskey. We had brought MREs. Sarge kicked us out of his camp. We had to sleep in the rain 200 meters away until we could negotiate our way back in. This is the genius of Robin Sage. It teaches you that being an American doesn't automatically make you the boss. In unconventional warfare, you are the guest. You have to earn respect. You can't demand it. We spent 2 weeks in Pineland. We trained a ragtag group of role players, mostly college kids earning beer money, how to set up ambushes. We lived with them, we ate with them. One night we planned a raid on a bridge. It was supposed to be a simulated blowing of the bridge. We spent hours building a complex plan. We approached the target at 300. We were stealthy. We were deadly. And then a local sheriff's deputy, a real one, not a role player, pulled up with his lights on. We froze. We were in the middle of a fake war facing a real cop. The cop rolled down his window. We were all armed with M4s loaded with blanks. The cop looked at us, looked at the bridge, and said, "You boys winning?" "Yes, sir," I said. "Good, keep the noise down. Mrs. Johnson lives down the road and she complains." And he drove off. That is the surreal nature of Special Forces training. You are operating in the real world, blending in, trying to conduct warfare without disrupting Mrs. Johnson's sleep. But the darkest part of the pipeline, the part that changes you forever, is SERE survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. As every pilot and special operator goes through it, it is classified. I can't tell you the specific techniques they use, but I can tell you what it feels like. It feels like helplessness. After days of running through the woods, starving, eating bugs, and freezing, you get captured. They put a hood over your head, they zip-tie your hands, and you enter the camp. The camp is designed to break your will. It is a theater of horror. There is smoke. There is loud, discordant music playing 24/7. There are guards screaming in a made-up language. They put you in a box, a literal box. It is too small to sit up in, too small to lie down in. You are cramped into a ball, your muscles cramp, you lose circulation, and you sit there for hours. This is where you meet yourself. In the silence of the box, all your bravado disappears. You aren't a tough guy anymore. You are just a piece of meat in a box. You start to think about your family. You start to think about your failures. I remember hitting a low point in the box. I was shivering uncontrollably. I was hallucinating again. I thought the walls were closing in. I was ready to give up, not to quit the army, but just to give up mentally, to stop fighting. And then I heard a tapping. It was coming from the wall of the box next to me. Tap, 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 Morse code, no, just a rhythm. It was the guy in the next box. He was letting me know he was there. He was telling me, I'm still here, you are not alone. That tiny sound saved me. It reminded me of the first rule of the regiment: you fight for the man next to you, even if you can't see him, even if you are both in boxes. When they finally let us out, when they played the Star-Spangled Banner and told us the exercise was over, grown men wept. Not because it was over, but because we had survived. We had looked into the abyss, and the abyss blinked first. Graduation day, the donning of the beret, it is a quiet ceremony. There are no bands, no parades. You stand in formation at Fort Bragg. You take off your patrol cap, the cunt cap as we called it, and you put on the Green Beret. You expect to feel like a superhero. You expect to feel powerful, but I didn't. I felt heavy. When you put that beret on, you aren't just joining a unit. You are inheriting a legacy. You are taking on the ghosts of the men who died in Vietnam, in Somalia, in Iraq. You realize that from this day forward, you are held to a standard that is impossible to meet every day, but you have to try. We call ourselves the quiet professionals. We don't brag, we don't start bar fights, we don't advertise. Because when you know you can kill a room full of people with a pencil, you don't need to prove you are tough. You have nothing to prove to anyone except your teammates. I remember my first deployment after graduation. We went to a country in South America. We were there to train a counter-narcotics unit. I was 24 years old. I was the weapons expert. I was supposed to teach these battle-hardened Colombian commandos how to shoot. I walked onto the range nervous. These guys had been fighting cartels for 10 years. I was a kid from Ohio who had just passed a school. The Colombian sergeant looked at me. He looked at my pristine uniform. He looked at my shiny new rifle. He smiled and said, "Green Beret?" "Yes," I said. He nodded. "Good, we wait for you, now show us magic." They didn't want me to shoot. They wanted me to think. They wanted the American tactical magic. So I didn't start with shooting. I started with ballistics. I started with the math. I showed them how to adjust their sights for the humidity of the jungle. I showed them how to clean their weapons so they wouldn't jam in the mud. And by the end of the week, they were hitting targets they had never hit before. That was the moment I truly became a Green Beret. Not when I put on the hat, but when I earned the respect of a foreign soldier by making him better. That is the job. It's not about Rambo. It's about being a teacher. It's about force multiplication. It's about taking 12 guys and turning them into 1,200. So why am I telling you all this? Because there is a misconception about special forces. People think we are machines. They think we don't feel pain or fear or doubt. That's a lie. We feel all of it. We feel it more than anyone. The only difference is what we do with it. We take the fear and we use it as fuel. We take the pain and we use it as a compass. If it hurts, it means we are still alive. You might not be crawling